All right, today we're gonna do something a little different. Driving here in the 2026 Ram Rebel, and I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. If I wasn't doing a YouTube channel, I would not own a brand new truck. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you guys think, do the majority of the audience, the people that comment, do you guys think that modern vehicles are reliable? But if I didn't have a YouTube channel, there is no way that I would own this truck. They're just too expensive and they have too many, I don't know, electronics and all sorts of things. So I'm gonna go through the positives and negatives of why people buy these. And the first thing you're gonna see here underneath the truck is the suspension. Now I kind of cherry-picked this road because it's a crappy road and I wanted you guys to see the suspension work. I've shown this in other videos, but this is how they sell you on new cars. And this is how they sold me and other people too. Now I wanted a tax write-off for my business. I've got a fishing channel and I've got this main car channel, but just watch this suspension. These things ride like a dream. So they've taken trucks from 20, 25, 30 years ago and even 15 years ago, and they've made them ride like luxury cars. The interior is like a luxury car. You've got massaging seats, huge screens, digital dashes, all the tech you could possibly imagine, which a lot of people like. I don't necessarily like all the tech. I don't want my data going up to the cloud, but that's another story for another day. But watch the suspension in this truck and you can't deny that the new trucks are better than ever, but I trust them less than ever, if that makes sense. And I think I wanted to be honest with you guys in this because I see a lot of comments and people saying, hey man, what truck should I buy? What truck should I buy? And I wanted to be just kind of clear about what I think the positives and negatives are about these vehicles. Biggest negative is the price. So I don't, it depends on your financial situation. But I don't think you're gonna get into most trucks for less than maybe $45,000, $50,000 for a half ton. And even the mid-size trucks are creeping up into the mid 40s, into the 50s. It's just it's ridiculous. The pricing is ridiculous. And then that also drives the used car market prices up too. So then you look at these old trucks and you think, gosh, I don't wanna pay, $30,000 for a second gen Tundra that has 100,000 miles on it. So then people jump into the new one and then they might have problems with the new one. And this just this cycle of negative equity that people fall into. Now for me, it made sense financially. So I wanted to make this video and make sure that the people that watch this channel and watch other YouTube channels understand that, I get to write off a large portion of this truck and I only use it really for my businesses. That's it. And if you're just buying it for leisure, I would never buy this. I would be driving my 2008 Toyota Sequoia. It actually fit the need just fine. It had 237,000 on it when I sold it. And I really like that car for fishing, for towing, for hauling the family. It was just fine. And I trusted it. I like old vehicles with port injection, no high pressure fuel pumps. I like vehicles that are just no electronics, or fewer electronics. They're not uploading your data, all your GPS, your telematic data from your vehicle. They're not uploading that to the cloud and selling it to insurance companies. So I would say maybe 2018, 2019 really was kind of the heyday. And that's why you're seeing all these trucks shoot up in value, the used vehicles. For me, the whole purpose of this video is to tell you, like, if you're on the fence or you really can't afford it, you don't want a $900 to $1,200 a month payment, absolutely don't do it. You're just gonna regret the decision. But as a frugal person and someone that really, I pay attention to where my money goes, I want to save my money, I want to invest my money. Trucks are not an investment. They're just, unless you're doing it for business, they're really not an investment and you're going to lose money on them. Even though they hold value better now than they did pre-COVID, they're still not great investments. And the biggest factor in these trucks, I think this is huge, and a lot of people overlook this, is just the cost of repair. I personally would not want to own this truck out of warranty, so that's why I chose Ram. You got a 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty. That's a big deal to me when you have all this crap going on, you got really complex transmissions, really complex twin turbo engine, lots of electronics. When you walk up to these cars and you're pressing your key fob or you open the door, you hear all these electronics going off before you even step into the car. It's like a light show of electricity just happening, and you haven't even pressed the start button yet. You haven't put your foot on the pedal. And it just starts to register in your head like, man, these are really complex vehicles. At the same time, they ride like a dream. They're super quiet. They're fun to drive, and that's why people are buying them. People are, I see it in the Facebook groups all the time. People are like racing cars in them. They're insanely fast. They tow better than all the old trucks. But at the end of the day, couldn't we could still tow our trailers back in the 2000s. It was just a little slower. Maybe it was a little louder. Maybe it wasn't as smooth. Maybe it wasn't even as stable doing it, and it wasn't as fun or leisurely, but we still got the work done. Somehow our society still moved on, and everybody carried on and did hard work and towed RVs and towed boats. We did all those things before we had these really plush modern vehicles. And really the way they get you in these is focusing on what they call NVH, the noise, vibration. They've reduced it down to the point where, and hopefully you can see that in this video with some of the suspension work, they've reduced it down to the point where these ride so smooth. They ride like a BMW SUV or something. They're so smooth and quiet, and that's what hooks you. You go to the dealer to test drive these things, and if you've got an old truck and you set foot in one of these, you're probably gonna walk away with a loan. And so one other thing I wanted to talk about was I would not own these out of warranty, and the cost of repair, like a transmission repair in this truck or any of the General Motors trucks. Oh, the start stop. See, there you go. Just the start stop kicks on. I got a little click the button, and I got to defeat that stuff because I don't want my engine shutting off. I'm not really in gridlock here. Yeah, it's just annoying. The transmission in these and General Motors and other brands, if you're having to replace that transmission, you're upwards of $10,000 or more. If you've got a hybrid system, gosh, you could be in the $20,000 range to replace those hybrid systems outside of warranty. You're looking at the engines in these and the Tundras and everything else, anything that has a twin turbo engine. Boy, the cost of repair of a twin turbo engine when you get the cab off repair and all the disruption, if you're paying for that out of pocket, you're well above $10,000, $15,000. So all of those things factor in, man. If you get a brand new truck, you're probably going to keep it through warranty and just ship it off anyway before the end of the warranty, which brings me to what's the best deal then? If you're not going for Ram, you're not going for that 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty, and you're going to go to these other brands that end at 60,000, I'd almost just look at a lease at that point, because Toyota's got really aggressive leases right now. A lot of these manufacturers actually have really good leases, and you know why? The reason is because people actually don't keep their vehicles that long. Most people keep them, 2 to 3 years. I think that's what most studies show. And then they turn them in. And if you're only keeping it that long, then it almost doesn't make sense to put down a big lump sum of money. You could just have that money doing other things for you, investing it. And if you're always going to cycle vehicles every 2 to 3 years anyway, a lease is probably going to be cheaper. I see Tundra leases, Tacoma leases, all these brands. They're easier to walk away from. You don't have negative equity. A lot of these trucks, especially the Toyotas, have a really high residual. So, normally I would say, no, don't lease something. I think it's a loser's game. But nowadays, the fact that I don't trust really any of these brands outside of warranty, I really don't. And it's not because of the brands as much as it is the complexity of these vehicles. They're so complex, I think it's just extremely difficult anymore to make these things reliable. I don't know how else to say it. It's super hard to make these trucks reliable. And I hope that gets across in this video that, like, if you're on the fence, if you're not in a great financial situation, maybe you struggle sometimes, especially if you're living month to month, or you already have truck payments and you're wanting to get out of something, man, just reset. I know it might take like years to get out of that situation, but I've done it. And I just can't recommend spending a bunch of money on these trucks. They're super nice, but you get everything along with that. You're going to have higher insurance cost, higher registration cost. You're going to be more concerned. So the more you spend on these vehicles, the more concerned you are. You go to a parking lot and you're like, man, I got to go park in the back and back it in. And you see these guys in these trucks, they're trying to protect their trucks because they spent so much money on them. They don't want to get door dings or anything like normal truck things that you might buy a $30,000 truck brand new back in the day, and then you get your door ding and it's like, it doesn't hurt as bad as if you got an $80,000 or $90,000 truck. It hits a little different when the truck's approaching $100,000 or maybe even more than that. So anyway, I just hope this helps someone out and makes you realize, like, you definitely don't need a new vehicle to be happy. And there are a lot of things I miss. My Toyota Sequoia was it was more functional for what I do sometimes, which is fishing. I can actually put a kayak on top and a kayak in the back, and all my fishing gear locked inside the Sequoia, where the fishing gear in this Ram in the back, the bed's not really long enough to hold my one-piece poles. And I knew that going into it, but it's just kind of irritating. Little things. Let's punch it here. Let's see what it can do. This is why people buy them. Look at this. I mean, that is just bonkers what it can do. These things, when you hit the gas, it is right now, and it is just, it's almost like an electric vehicle if you've ever driven one of those, the kind of torque and power you have in these Rams or in any of these twin turbo platforms. It's almost like having an EV. It's instant power. Especially even at elevation here, it's just wild what they do. The audience is usually split. Half of you guys really like these new trucks and you like all the features and you're willing to spend the money, but anymore, I think, boy, they're going to get what they want from Davos, right? They're going to get this. You will own nothing and be happy. I suppose that's what's going to happen especially with the truck market. People will be happy leasing because it will actually feel like less of a risk to lease a vehicle than to own a vehicle anymore, because they're so expensive to fix and just hard to repair at home anymore. You can't hardly do anything at home on these vehicles. So let me know what you guys think in the comments as always. Thanks for watching. Till next time.